My name is Trustine. I work for South Kerry Development Partnership. I'm working on the MacGillycuddy Reeks EIP project, and our title is Developing Innovative Actions for High Nature Value Farmland in the MacGillycuddy Reeks. So you can see the image there. That's approximately the area that we work in. It's about 100 square kilometres. So the little green areas there are the areas where we've brought in participants as part of the project. That's a mixture of privately held farmland and commonages. So it's obviously quite challenging terrain to be working in. And I suppose we'd have a lot of commonalities with the other EIP projects. We work well with the other projects like the SUS project there. We'd seek advice from the SUS and from the Connemara project and Inishowen, because there are a lot of commonalities throughout the areas, even though the challenges might be slightly different. We're still working away together. So next slide, please. So our challenges, yeah, we have a lot of challenges. As I mentioned, it's all designated land. It's all designated as special area conservation. The terrain, obviously, it's quite rocky land. It's Ireland's highest mountain for any people from overseas that are watching this and not familiar with the MacGillycuddy Reeks. We have, I think, 9 to 10 highest peaks in Ireland here, and Carntool, the highest mountain in Ireland, is here as well. So obviously recreation is a huge challenge to face as well on farmland. We could have an excess of 100,000 people every year with a bucket list to climb Carntool. Obviously, with the terrain being so difficult, the labour-intensive practices that go along with that, then it is challenging trying to do simple jobs that would be normally quite achievable. Gathering sheep to bring them down, or livestock management is quite difficult. Climate, obviously, because we're so close here to the west coast of Ireland, we have huge rainfall events. So those things are common to a lot of upland areas are challenging here as well. But it does make this extremely unviable in terms of income. Economically, it's quite hard to make a sustainable living from upland sheep farming here in the MacGillycuddy Reeks. So what are the challenges outside of all of those? There are no management plans for the special area conservation here. So there is assistance required for the farmers as well in completing activities requiring consent forms. So there's a list of activities that the farmers are not supposed to carry out inside in the special area conservation without consent. So they would need assistance carrying those out. So we do that here as part of the project. Identifying and delivering training needed. So to date, there's a huge amount of work that would need to be carried out. For example, treatment of rhododendron, treatment of bracken, and obviously there is mandatory training that should be taken participation first before that's carried out. There's no verification actions to check, make sure that things were actually being done and being done appropriately. There's no specific supports, I suppose, to target invasive species. And that is a big challenge because the invasive species, by their very nature, are invasive and do take over a lot of the habitat. There was no great focus the farmers felt on improving Annex 1 habitats or awareness in the first place why the land was designated. So that was a huge challenge for us here in the project to get out, engage with the farmers and explain to them why the land was designated, what it's designated for. And that's working very well. So there's another challenge. But there is the need, and this would come from all of our farmers that we'd work with, a need for a long-term approach, not just a short project, a collective all-in approach, as well as Declan has referred to in the SUS project for the commonages, because obviously the issues are not just one commonage, everything affects the neighbouring commonages. Our ageing farming population is a big issue as well. So trying to encourage young people to become involved in upland sheep farming. The need for support and facilitation to carry out the actions as well. You can't just tell someone to go in and do something. You need to actually support them and help them to carry it out. To manage grazing, conditions change quite a lot on the mountain. So obviously what might have been okay for 5 years might change. Bracken and rhododendron, as I mentioned already, encroachment, they really are affecting the biodiversity of this high nature value farmland. Next slide, please. So what are the solutions? So I've mentioned a few of these already. It is facilitating the mandatory training. So all of our participants would carry out the QQI level 5 handheld pesticide training, rhododendron treatment as well to best practice, because a lot of people have tried different initiatives, I suppose, in trying to deal with rhododendron, some with success and some not so successful. So we are doing best practice there, treatment of rhododendron. Habitat awareness, I've mentioned. The establishment of collective groups, so a little bit like what they have done in the SUS project. We have got our commonage groups together. We've also got other farmers in the area to support them, to keep it sustainable, to bring them together, to actually support farmers by themselves, because dealing with issues like the treatment of rhododendron, it's quite challenging if you're doing it all by yourself. So there's a huge social return here to establishing these collective groups. So it's developing the skills locally, and it's keeping the economic return local as well. So that's working out very, very well. There's great buy-in to that activity.
30 seconds, Patricia.
We're flying.
Right.
He's requiring consent. Site-specific work plans. Absolutely, every single area needs a specific work plan. The results-based payments, that is shown to work. It is improving the Annex 1 habitats. And it's the practical guidance, so like reintroducing cattle, very practical things. It's all very practical. It's working for the farmer. It has to work for the farmer. Next slide, so please. So what do we have? There are a number of pictures just to give you an idea of the terrain that we're talking about, but you can see it. It is engagement from all the participants. And then the very last slide before Shane kills me. Next slide. Yeah. So why is it working? Why is it innovative? It's getting things done. This is coming from the farmers themselves. They feel they're being listened to. And it is ultimately achieving its goal of managing, maintaining and improving the Annex 1 habitats. So if anyone wants to come down when we've more time, you're more than welcome. Thanks a million.